In a world drowning in data but starving for wisdom, where do we turn when the path forward is foggy? The Book of Proverbs, penned largely by King Solomon, stands as a lighthouse in the storm. This isn't just a book of ancient catchphrases. It's a sacred archive of divine logic, a blueprint for a righteous life. While modern advice often chases self-fulfillment, Proverbs calls us to self-surrender and character cultivation. It reveals a God who cares about the details, how we speak to our neighbor, manage our money, and guard our thoughts. Over the next 40 lessons, we'll journey through this landscape of truth, finding clarity for confusion and strength for the weary heart. This is an invitation to sit at the feet of the Almighty, to trade our limited perspective for His eternal view, and to let His living word reshape our reality. Let's begin this journey of transformation together. Our first lesson: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Proverbs 1-7 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." To understand Proverbs, we need a compass, and the fear of the Lord is our true north. This isn't a trembling dread of a tyrant, but a breathtaking, trembling awe of a holy Creator. Imagine standing at the edge of a thundering waterfall, or gazing into a galaxy that sense of smallness and wonder. That's the beginning of this fear. It's realizing God is God, and we are not. True wisdom creates humility. It acknowledges our intellect is finite, while His is infinite. The fool, in contrast, builds a universe with their own ego at the center. To despise wisdom is to reject the very oxygen our souls need. When we properly fear the Lord, we stop trying to bend the universe to our will and start aligning our will to His. This builds a foundation that no storm can shake. Our second lesson: trust in the Lord completely. Proverbs 3-5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding." We live in an era that idolizes self-reliance, but this proverb calls for a radical surrender of our intellectual pride. To lean is to put your full weight on something. When we lean on our own understanding, we're leaning on a fractured staff. Our emotions are volatile, our logic is flawed, and our foresight is blind. Trusting God with all your heart means handing Him the keys to every locked room of your life, your worries, your career, your relationships. It's a decision to believe God's character is good, even when your circumstances look bad. It's refusing to panic when the road bends, knowing the navigator sees the destination. This total reliance silences the noise of anxiety and replaces it with a divine confidence that defies human explanation. And our third lesson: a gentle tongue has power. As Proverbs 15:1 says, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." In the physics of relationships, force meets force. When we're verbally attacked, our instinct is to fire back. Wisdom reveals a paradox. The strongest weapon is gentleness. A soft answer isn't weak. It's a calculated act of spiritual strength that absorbs the energy of an argument and diffuses it. Grievous words are like gasoline on a fire. They guarantee an explosion. By choosing a gentle response, you disrupt the cycle of conflict. You've become the thermostat that sets the temperature of the room, not a thermometer that just reflects the heat. This is the path of the peacemaker, mirroring the patience of God, who is slow to anger. When you master your tongue, you master your environment. Let's start with number 4. Avoid the path of the wicked. Proverbs 4:14 says, "Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men." Think about it. Life is a series of trajectories. Tina, no one just wakes up one day and decides to ruin their life. It happens one small step at a time, often just by walking down the wrong street. This proverb is a powerful warning against the magnetic pull of toxic environments. The path of the wicked can look really alluring, paved with promises of easy money or forbidden pleasures. But wisdom understands that you could walk in the direction of destruction and expect to arrive at a peaceful destination. This requires proactive holiness. It means you have to look at where a road leads before you even take that first step. It demands the courage to walk alone on the right path, rather than following the crowd right off a cliff. Remember, guarding your company is guarding your destiny. Fifth lesson, guard your heart diligently. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." Imagine your life is a city. Your heart would be its water supply. That reservoir is poisoned. Every single home in the city suffers. Your heart is the very seat of your will, your emotions, and your intellect. Everything you do flows downstream from what you are becoming on the inside. To keep your heart with diligence suggests a military-like vigilance, eerie standing guard at the gates of your soul. We have to actively filter what we watch, what we listen to, and what we let our minds dwell on. If we allow bitterness, envy, or impurity to take root, they will eventually show up in our actions. Wisdom teaches us that the battle for a righteous life is won or lost in the quiet chambers of the heart, long before anyone sees it in public. Sixth lesson, honor the Lord with your wealth. Proverbs 3-9 says, "Honor the Lord with thy substance, and with the first fruits of all thine increase." Money is often the biggest competitor for our devotion. This proverb completely reorders our financial world by placing God at the very center of it. First fruits refers to the ancient practice of giving the very best of the harvest to God before taking anything for yourself. It's a profound declaration of trust. It says, "God, I believe you are the source of this blessing, not my own cleverness." This isn't a transaction to buy God's favor. It's an act of worship that breaks the grip of greed on our lives. When we hold our resources with an open hand, honoring Him first, we acknowledge that we are just managers, not owners. This alignment brings a spiritual blessing that money can't buy, freedom from the anxiety of scarcity. Seventh lesson, the wise listen to correction. Proverbs 15:5 says, "A fool despiseth his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent." Our ego hates being wrong. When someone points out a flaw or a mistake, our natural reaction is to deflect, deny, or even attack. But Proverbs suggests that the ability to receive correction is what separates a fool from a wise person. Correction is like a sculptor's chisel. It can be painful as it chips away at our rough edges, but it reveals the masterpiece underneath. Those who despise instruction doom themselves to stagnation. They're locked in a prison of their own making, unable to grow because they refuse to admit they need to. The prudent person, however, minds criticism for gold. They value the truth more than their pride, understanding that a rebuke from a friend is far better than the kiss of an enemy. In the eighth lesson, pride leads to destruction. Proverbs 16:18 famously states, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." Pride is the silent killer of destiny. It's a spiritual intoxication that makes us overestimate our abilities and underestimate our dependence on God. Haughty spirit lifts us up on a pedestal of self-sufficiency, but the higher the pedestal, the harder the fall. History is littered with the ruins of empires and individuals who thought they were untouchable. Wisdom warns us that pride acts like a blindfold, preventing us from seeing the pitfalls right in front of us. The antidote is humility's staying close to the ground where it's safe, and we acknowledge our frailty and walk humbly before God. We're protected from the humiliating crash that inevitably follows arrogance. God resists the proud, but He gives grace to the humble. Let's start with our ninth lesson. A good name is a great treasure. Proverbs 22:1 says, "A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and love and favor rather than silver and gold." In the marketplace of life, your character is the ultimate currency. You can lose your money and earn it back, but if you lose your reputation, the road to restoration is long and difficult. A good name means you have a track record of integrity, faithfulness, and honor. it means people associate you with truth. This proverb directly challenges our modern obsession with just accumulating wealth. We often see people sacrifice their integrity for a bigger paycheck, only to find that money can't buy respect or trust. Wisdom teaches us to play the long game. Building a legacy of honor is an investment that pays dividends for generations, far outlasting the temporary shine of silver and gold. Next, our 10th lesson. Wisdom is better than gold. Proverbs 16:16 asks, how much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver? Imagine being offered a vault of gold or a mind filled with divine wisdom. The world would probably choose the vault, but the Bible says the mind is the greater prize. Why? Because gold is a resource, but wisdom is the ability to manage all resources. Money without wisdom is like a fast car without a steering wheel, just accelerates destruction. Wisdom enhances every part of our lives, our relationships, our mental health, our decision-making, and our spiritual depth. It's the one asset that can't be stolen, devalued by inflation, or lost in a market crash. To pursue understanding is to pursue the very mind of God, which is the ultimate treasure in the universe. Moving on to the 11th lesson. Walk with the wise. Proverbs 13:20 tells us, he that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. We are like sponges, constantly absorbing the attitudes, habits, and mindsets of those closest to us. You could inconsistently walk with people who mock what is good and expect to grow in a positive way. This proverb is like a law of spiritual osmosis. If you surround yourself with people who pursue truth, integrity, and discipline, their strength will become yours. On the flip side, companions of fools aren't just bad influences. They're like anchors dragging you toward destruction. This means we have to do the hard work of auditing our circle. We must be intentional about who we let speak into our lives, choosing mentors and friends who sharpen us like iron sharpens iron, rather than dulling our spiritual edge. The 12th lesson is a crucial one for all our relationships. Hatred stirs conflict, but love covers offenses. Proverbs 10:12 says, hatred stirreth up stripes, but love covereth all sins. Hatred is an agitator. It looks for cracks in a relationship and pries them wide open. It keeps a detailed record of wrongs, replaying old offenses until resentment boils over into conflict. Love, on the other hand, performs a miracle of grace. It covers. This doesn't mean covering up abuse or enabling bad behavior. Rather, it refers to the choice to forgive and move forward. It's the refusal to dwell on the imperfections of others. Just as a bandage covers a wound to help it heal, love protects a relationship from the infection of bitterness. To choose love is to choose the end of hostilities, bringing peace to a heart that might be torn by war. Finally, our 13th lesson, the diligent will prosper. Proverbs 12:24 states, the hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. Success is rarely a lightning strike of luck. It's usually the slow accumulation of consistent effort. Diligence is the steady, disciplined application of energy toward a goal. It's the character trait that refuses to cut corners. This proverb suggests that leadership and influence are the natural results of hard work. The diligent person masters their craft and takes their responsibilities seriously, eventually rising to positions of authority. The slothful person, who is ruled by the desire for ease, eventually finds themselves enslaved by their own needs and wants. Laziness is a thief that steals our potential. Wisdom calls us to embrace the dignity of work, viewing our daily tasks not as burdens, but as opportunities to bring excellence into the world. Let's start with our 14th lesson, speak life. Proverbs 18:21 tells us, death and life are in the power of the tongue. This is one of the most sobering truths in all of Scripture. Our words aren't just empty sounds. They are containers filled with power. With our words, we can assassinate someone's spirit with criticism, or we can resurrect their hope with encouragement. We can speak death over our own dreams with cynicism, or we can speak life into them through faith. The proverb warns that we will eat the fruit of our words. We consistently plant seeds of negativity, gossip, and complaint. We're going to harvest a life full of bitterness. But if we plant seeds of gratitude, truth, and affirmation, we'll harvest a life of joy. True wisdom means we must become vigilant gatekeepers of our mouths, recognizing that every sentence we speak is a creative act that literally shapes our reality. Our 15th lesson is to commit your plans to the Lord. Proverbs 16:2-3 says, "Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established." So many of us are paralyzed by the anxiety of the unknown. We make our plans, we analyze the data, and we endlessly worry about the outcomes. This proverb offers a release valve for all that pressure. The word commit literally means to roll your burden onto someone else. Right? It's the act of doing the work you're called to do, but entrusting the final outcome entirely to God. When we submit our ambitions to His sovereignty, right, something amazing happens. Our thoughts are established, so the chaos in our minds settles down and turns into clarity. Our own desires begin to align with His will for us. We stop striving for things that are unmeant for us and start walking in the purpose He designed. This shows us that true success isn't just achieving our own goals, but seeing God's will accomplished through our hands. Next up, Lesson 16. A cheerful heart is good medicine. Proverbs 17:22 declares, "A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones." Modern science is only now catching up to what King Solomon knew 3,000 years ago. Our minds and bodies are deeply connected. A heart filled with joy, gratitude, and hope releases a kind of healing biochemistry throughout our entire system. It strengthens our resilience. On the other hand, a broken spirit, that chronic despair, bitterness, or hopelessness is toxic. It dries the bones, sapping our vitality and weakening our immune system. Now, this isn't a command to fake happiness. It's an invitation to cultivate a deep, unshakable joy that is based on God's goodness. Even when we're in the middle of a trial, we can choose to focus on what is right, pure, and lovely. This spiritual discipline truly acts like a medicine, preserving our lives in a broken world. Lesson 17 is a big one. Do not envy sinners. Proverbs 23:17 advises, "Let not thine heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long." It's so easy to look at the corrupt and the godless, who seem to have all the money, power, and ease, and feel a pang of jealousy. We wonder, why do they prosper while the righteous struggle? Wisdom corrects our vision here. Envy is a form of spiritual nearsightedness. It only sees the immediate pleasure, not the ultimate cost. The prosperity of the wicked is fragile, and it's fleeting. Instead of looking sideways at what others have, we're told to look up to live in awe and reverence of the Lord. When we focus on the eternal God, the shiny distractions of this world start to lose their luster. We quickly realize that having God's presence in our lives is a wealth that no amount of illicit gain could ever equal. Finally, our 18th lesson, a gentle spirit brings peace. Proverbs 17:1 says, "Better is a dry morsel and quietness therewith than an house full of sacrifices with strife." We often think that upgrading our circumstances will automatically upgrade our happiness. We want the bigger house, the finer food, the house full of sacrifices, which means feasts and parties. Yet, Solomon, a man who had it all, tells us that a simple crust of dry bread eaten in a peaceful home is far superior to a grand banquet in a home filled with conflict. Strife creates a kind of spiritual indigestion that ruins even the best of blessings. You can't enjoy luxury if you're constantly walking on eggshells. Wisdom teaches us to prioritize the atmosphere of our homes over the inventory of our homes. Cultivating a spirit of gentleness and harmony is the true luxury, making even the simplest life feel like a feast. These 5 proverbs offer such profound guidance for living a life of wisdom and peace. Our 19th lesson is about keeping your word. Proverbs 13:5 tells us, "A righteous man hateth lying, but a wicked man is loathsome, and cometh to shame." Think about it. Truth is the bedrock of reality. When we lie, we're trying to build a fake reality, a fragile house of cards that needs more and more lies to stand up. A righteous person doesn't just avoid lying, okay? They hate it because they know deceit is an offense against God, who is truth itself. Lying shatters the bonds of trust between people. Eventually, the wicked person becomes loathsome. They start to reek of their own deception, and their shame becomes public. To be a person of your word is to have real substance. It means your yes is a binding contract. This integrity pleases the Lord and builds a fortress of safety around your life. Next, lesson 20. Don't boast about tomorrow. Proverbs 27:1 says, "Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth." We humans love the illusion of control, don't we? We create 5-year plans, thinking we're the masters of time. But this proverb is a serious reality check. We don't even own the next hour. Life is fragile and can turn on a dime with a sudden diagnosis, an accident, or a single phone call. Boasting about tomorrow is a form of arrogance that ignores God's sovereignty. This doesn't mean we shouldn't plan, but we should plan with a pencil, not in permanent ink. We should live with a God-willing attitude. This humility allows us to truly cherish the present moment, which is the only gift we're ever guaranteed. Lesson 21 is that wisdom brings security. Proverbs 1:33 promises, "But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil." Fear is such a dominant emotion in our world. Fear of the economy, of violence, of the future. Wisdom offers a shelter from that storm. When we listen and obey God's wisdom, we're building our life on a rock. This promise of safety doesn't mean we'll be immune to trouble, but it means we'll have security right in the middle of it. It's that quiet from fear of evil, an eternal calm that comes from knowing who is ultimately in charge. When you've settled the biggest questions of life and eternity, temporary storms can't shake your foundation. Obedience to God is the ultimate insurance policy for your soul. Our 22nd lesson teaches that a soft spirit is true strength. Proverbs 16:32 states, "He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh the city." Our culture celebrates the conqueror, the aggressive winner, but God glorifies the one who conquers themselves. Key, it's actually easier to capture a city than it is to control your own temper. Unchecked emotion is like a wild beast, and the person who can tame it possesses a rare and divine strength. Being slow to anger requires a massive reserve of character. It means absorbing an insult without hitting back. It means pausing when your adrenaline spikes. This self-mastery is the hallmark of true leadership. If you can't rule your own spirit, you have no business ruling others. Real power is found in restraint. Finally, lesson 23. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Proverbs 3-7 advises, "Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil." Intellectual pride is like a spiritual cataract, blinds us to our own faults. When we're convinced we know it all, we stop learning and, most importantly, we stop listening to God. The cure for this is the fear of the Lord. When we truly see God's holiness, our own wisdom suddenly looks foolish. This humility naturally leads us to depart from evil. Why? Because we realize God's laws aren't just arbitrary rules, okay? They are guardrails designed by the very architect of life. Departing from evil isn't just about being good. It's about being smart enough to admit that God knows how life works better than we do. Surrender is the smartest move a person can ever make. Our 24th lesson reminds us that words have power, for good or for ill. Proverbs 12:18 says, "There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health." We've all felt that sting, haven't we? Sarcastic comment, a harsh critique, it can feel like a physical wound. But the proverb doesn't just warn us, it shows us a better way. The tongue of the wise brings health. Think about that. Your words can be therapeutic. A timely word of encouragement can literally change someone's brain chemistry, lowering stress and sparking hope. Wisdom teaches us to use our words not as weapons to wound, but as surgical instruments to heal. So, before you speak, ask yourself, will this bring health? Will this build up or tear down? By choosing to speak life, you become a source of healing in a world that is so often hurting. Next, Lesson 25 connects our conscience to our courage. Proverbs 28:1 tells us, "The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion." Have you ever noticed how guilt can make you jumpy? The wicked are constantly looking over their shoulder, living in a state of low-grade paranoia, terrified of being exposed. Guilt truly makes cowards of us all. But the righteous, those who live with integrity and have confessed their failings, have nothing to hide. This transparency gives birth to a lion-like boldness. They aren't afraid of the light. They can stand confidently before anyone because their account is settled with God. This isn't arrogance, it's the holy confidence that comes from a clear conscience. It's a simple but profound truth. When you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Our 26th lesson explores the incredible value of true friendship. A friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity, says Proverbs 17:17. We all know fair weather friends. They are great for the party, but disappear when it's time to clean up. A real friendship, the kind this proverb describes, is proven in the furnace of affliction. A brother born for adversity is someone whose loyalty shines brightest when your world is at its darkest. This proverb isn't just about finding that friend. It challenges us to be that friend. Do we love at all times, or only when it's easy and convenient? True, biblical friendship is a commitment. It means staying when it hurts, speaking the truth even when it's hard, and carrying burdens that aren't your own. In a world that often feels lonely, being a faithful friend is one of the most powerful ways to show God's love. Lesson 27 is a stark warning against laziness. Proverbs 6 says, "Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man." This is so visual. Poverty doesn't usually crash through the front door. It creeps in quietly through the window of procrastination. That little slumber represents all the small compromises we make, hitting the snooze button on life, putting off a difficult task, choosing comfort over duty. One by one, these small choices add up until poverty arrives inevitably, like a traveler on a long road, and overpoweringly like an armed man. By the time you realize you're in trouble, it's often too late to fight back. Wisdom is our alarm clock. It wakes us up to the urgency of today, reminding us that diligence right now is our only defense against the armed man of want tomorrow. Finally, our 28th lesson teaches a counterintuitive truth about honor. Proverbs 18:12 says, "Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty, and before honor is humility." The world shouts at us to promote ourselves, to broadcast our achievements, to fight for the spotlight. But God's kingdom operates on an inverse principle. The way up is down. Humility is the non-negotiable prerequisite for true honor, and it makes sense when you think about it. A humble person is teachable, grateful, and has a servant's heart. These are qualities that naturally earn respect and favor from both God and people. God delights in lifting up those who don't exalt themselves. If you chase honor directly, you'll only find vanity and emptiness. But if you pursue humility by serving others and acknowledging your dependence on God, will eventually find you. It's always better to be invited to a higher place than to be asked to step down. These 5 lessons offer us a roadmap to a richer, more meaningful life. A life of healing words, bold integrity, loyal friendship, diligent work, and humble honor. Let's start with our 29th lesson. Righteousness guards the upright. Proverbs 11:2-3 says, "The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them." Think of integrity as a built-in GPS for your soul. When you decide in advance that you'll always be honest, always fulfill your commitments, and always strive to do what's right, you save yourself from thousands of stressful decisions. You don't have to worry about getting caught because there's nothing to hide. The upright are guided by this internal compass, which keeps them on solid, safe ground. In contrast, the transgressor tries to game the system, twisting facts to serve their own agenda. This dishonesty inevitably leads to a tangled web of lies that eventually collapses on itself. Integrity isn't just a moral high ground, it's intensely practical, simplifies your life, and protects your peace. Next up, Lesson 30. The wise build their home. Proverbs 14:2-1 tells us, "Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucked it down with her hands." This isn't about construction materials like brick and mortar. It's about building a home with wisdom, patience, and love. The proverb uses the woman as a symbol for the central figure in a home, but this applies to everyone. Building a house means nurturing the people inside, it cheering on their dreams, comforting their hurts, and creating an atmosphere of grace. It takes years to build a strong, healthy family culture. But foolishness, like constant criticism, selfishness, or neglect, can tear it all down with shocking speed. Every day, we are either architects of peace in our homes or members of a demolition crew. Wisdom builds a legacy of love that will outlast us all. Now, for Lesson 31. God sees the heart. Proverbs 21:2 says, "Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the hearts." We are masters of self-justification, aren't we? We can spend any selfish act to make ourselves look like the hero. Okay, we might say, "I wasn't gossiping. I was just sharing a prayer concern." Or, "I'm not being stingy. I'm just being responsible." Cool. But this proverb pulls back the curtain on our little performances. God isn't interested in our public relations campaign. He examines the heart. He sees the real motive, the hidden ambition, the root cause of our actions. This is a powerful call to be radically honest with ourselves. Since we can't fool God, why do we even try to fool ourselves? We should invite God to search our hearts and expose the self-deception, because only the truth can truly set us free. Moving on to our 32nd lesson, humility attracts God's favor. Proverbs 3:34 is both a warning and a promise. "Surely he scorneth the scorners, but he giveth grace unto the lowly." This is profound. For the scorner, the arrogant person who mocks faith and righteousness, God actually becomes an opponent. He scorns them. Can you imagine having the creator of the universe actively opposing you? It's a terrifying thought. But for the lowly, the humble person who admits their need for him, he pours out grace. Grace is God's unearned favor and supernatural power, and it always flows downhill. If you want more of God's power and blessing in your life, the path is downward into humility. The lower we bow in genuine dependence on him, the more of his grace can flow into our lives. Finally, our 33rd lesson, avoid foolish arguments. Proverbs 26:4 gives this incredibly practical advice. "Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him." It's a trap to get into a debate with someone who has zero interest in finding the truth. When you argue with a fool, someone who is willfully ignorant or just looking for a 5-2 force to play their game, you get dragged down to their level. You become angry. You start making illogical points, and before you know it, you look and sound just like them. Wisdom is knowing when to speak and, just as importantly, when to walk away. You simply can't win an argument with someone who rejects reason. The real victory is protecting your own peace and refusing to get into the mud with them. Sometimes, silence is the wisest and most powerful response. Proverbs 11:1 says, "A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight." In ancient times, dishonest merchants might use shaved weights to cheat customers. God calls this practice an abomination, something that disgusts him. Why such a strong word? Because God is a God of absolute justice. Any form of cheating, whether it's tax evasion, stealing time at work, or misrepresenting a product you're selling, goes against his very nature. On the flip side, a just weight, which means radical honesty in all our dealings, is his delight. When we choose honesty, even if it costs us money, we're making a powerful statement. We're declaring that we trust God's provision more than our own ability to cut corners. Our integrity in the small, everyday transactions of life is actually a profound form of worship. Next, let's talk about the power of our words. Proverbs 21:23 tells us, "Whoever keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps his soul from troubles." Think about it. How many of our problems are self-inflicted because of a loose tongue? We speak too quickly, too harshly, or just too much, and suddenly we find ourselves tangled in a web of conflict and regret. This proverb teaches that managing our mouths is essential for protecting our souls. To keep your mouth means to post a guard at the door. It requires the discipline of the pause, taking a moment to breathe before you react. It means resisting that powerful urge to always have the last word. By restraining our speech, we save ourselves from the troubles of broken relationships, guilt, and embarrassment. A closed mouth often leads to a more open and peaceful life. Building on that, our third lesson is about the importance of thinking before we speak. Proverbs 15:28 states, "The heart of the righteous studies to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things." There's a crucial space between the stimulus and our response, and wisdom thrives in that gap. A righteous person studies to answer. They carefully consider the impact of their words before they release them. They think about the timing, the tone, and the truth. It's like a mental drafting process. The wicked, on the other hand, have no filter. They just pour out whatever is inside, often causing a flood of damage. This deliberate thoughtfulness is a sign of love. It shows we value the other person enough to craft a response that is helpful and constructive, not just reactive. Thinking before you speak is a true hallmark of spiritual maturity. Our fourth lesson deals with a destructive internal force, envy. Proverbs 14:30 says, "A sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy is the rottenness of the bones." Envy is presented here as a disease of the soul that has physical consequences. A sound heart is one that is at peace, content with what God has given. This contentment brings vitality and life. But envy is described as something like bone cancerette, rottenness that eats you up from the inside out. When you obsess over what other people have, you become unable to enjoy what you possess yourself. You end up living in a fantasy world of if only. Wisdom points us to the cure, gratitude. When we start counting our own blessings instead of our neighbors, the rot stops and our hearts can begin to heal. Contentment is truly the healthiest way to exist. Finally, our fifth lesson for today is that patience is power. Proverbs 19:11 declares, "The discretion of a man defers his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression." Our culture often says, "Don't let anyone get away with anything." But wisdom offers a different path. Let it go. The ability to pass over a transgression is described as a royal act. It is a person's glory. It means you are too big to be baited by a small offense. It suggests your identity is so secure in God that an insult can't diminish you. This discretion gives you the power to defer your anger, to put it on hold, and process it with reason instead of raw emotion. Forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was okay. It's about refusing to let what happened control you. It's the ultimate power move. Lesson 39. The way of the lazy is hard. Proverbs 15:19 tells us, the way of the slothful man is as a hedge of thorns, but the way of the righteous is made plain. It's ironic, isn't it? We often think laziness is the easy path, the comfortable choice, but in reality, it's the complete opposite. Proverbs reveals that laziness creates a much harder, more painful life. Imagine this hedge of thorns. It's the constant little irritations, the sudden crises, and the major blockages that pop up because of neglect. Those unpaid bills that pile up with late fees, the nagging health issues you keep ignoring. It's the relationships that wither because you didn't put in the effort. All of these things form a painful thicket that snags and tears at you every single day. Life becomes a constant struggle, just trying to get through the mess you've allowed to grow. On the other hand, the righteous, those who are diligent and do the work when it needs to be done, find their path made plain. It's like a clear, open highway, free from the debris of procrastination. They tackle tasks head on, so they don't have to deal with the consequences later. It's a simple but powerful principle. The discipline you practice today buys you freedom tomorrow. The seemingly hard road of diligence actually leads to the easy life of peace and order. So, if you want an easier life, don't choose the lazy way. Choose the wise, diligent way. For our final lesson. Number 40. The fear of the Lord leads to life. We end right where we began, with the most foundational truth in Proverbs. It's chapter 19, verse 23 says, the fear of the Lord tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil. This isn't just the starting point of wisdom. It's the finish line, the goal of it all. This fear of the Lord, this reverent awe and respect for God, literally tends to life, a real, vibrant, and abundant life. And the promise here is absolutely stunning. To abide satisfied. Think about that, okay? In a world that constantly tells us we need more, that we're never enough, the person who fears God finds a deep, lasting satisfaction that the world can't offer and can't take away. They are not visited with evil. This doesn't mean they'll never face hardship, but it means they are spared from the self-inflicted disasters that come from foolish choices. They are protected and guided by the Almighty, even when facing external trials. Ultimately, to fear God is to have nothing else to fear. It is the secret to a life that is deep, stable, and eternally secure, okay? The wisdom found in Proverbs is a precious gift from God. It's not just given to make us smarter, but to transform us, to make us more like Him. Each of these 40 lessons we've explored holds timeless truth that speaks directly to the challenges, decisions, and relationships we all face every day. They teach us that a life rooted in God's wisdom is a life of strength, peace, and purpose. They challenge us to walk humbly, to speak with care, to love deeply, and to live righteously. Wisdom isn't a final destination we arrive at. It's a daily pursuit. The more we seek God's heart and align our lives with His truth, the more we grow in discernment, grace, and understanding. When we choose to embrace His wisdom, we make choices that honor Him and bless everyone around us. So, let this be our prayer. Lord, teach me to live wisely. As you continue on your own journey, remember that God's wisdom is always available to you. He is always calling you to trust Him, to obey Him, and to flourish under His loving care. As Proverbs 4:7 reminds us, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through Proverbs. I pray these lessons have been a blessing to you. If you found this series helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. God bless, and walk in wisdom.